Teresco is their neighboring property that they are also in land development now at the same time, land development planning. So they're adjacent property. They both talked about fixing the drainage along 309, so we suggested that they coordinate that, but they have not been able to do that as of yet, so I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I'm still encouraged it, but it may not happen. So keep your fingers crossed for that. They are looking for a handful of waivers. One of the interesting ones was they're required to pave the whole area that is not in grass or whatever they're going to be driving on. The drive aisles themselves, we believe, is a SAUDO issue. The parking areas themselves are a zoning issue. So they were agreeable, you know, if they can make it work, to pave the parking areas, and if they can make it work, have the stone in the drive aisles, which would fall under a waiver from the south. That makes sense. It made sense. That's kind of thought about it a little bit. They're looking to waive curb and sidewalk, pay the fees. The traffic impact study, they don't expect any more, maybe a little bit more traffic due to the expansion of their business. So they agreed to do a modified study rather than a full-blown study, which apparently we've done many times in the past. That and stormwater detention facilities were a waiver requests. We were willing to recommend those waivers. Recommend a preliminary, conditional preliminary plan, noting that they do have a handful of outstanding items. They're not going to be in, well, they're not here tonight. They probably will be the next one. See if we get here or not. Second item on our agenda, we reviewed the draft of the short-term rental ordinance. Mary had described partially at the last board meeting. She created a definition for the short-term use that will be inserted into the definition section of the zoning handbook, proposing to put that use into the E7 hotel motel use, which is only allowed in the PC and PC2. So short-term rentals will only be allowed in our commercial districts. Originally, she had suggested putting a bed and breakfast in that use, but that would allow it in some residential areas. So, and Mary, if you want to chime in on this.
No, Steve pointed that out right after the last meeting, and that was a big deal.
Okay.
So that was a good catch.
I tried.
Can you clarify that again? What that means? Can you clarify that?
The short-term rental.
Yeah.
It would only be allowed, if this ordinance is passed, the short-term rentals would only be allowed in our commercial districts.
Oh.
So you're putting your house on Airbnb or VRBO or any of those things, they can only be done in districts where like hotels and motels are permitted.
So problem solved?
Pardon me?
Problem solved?
If,
Possibly.
Thank you.
If it gets passed. Yeah. Any other questions? I'm sorry.
I just have one, because we really considered when, in our will, when we passed, to leave our homes to our children to use as Airbnb.
Ma'am,
We need your
name and address.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do I need to stand up?
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
Give
sure.
your name and
All right.
address.
My name is Carolyn Huffnagel. I live on Tower Road, which is why I'm here. But we have had a long-term dream of eventually turning our home into an Airbnb because it's in a wonderful area. It's very accessible to Philadelphia and New York. And with this being passed, like, we would probably not be here. We'd leave it to our children to do this. They wouldn't be allowed to do that then.
now, if that ordinance was passed, they would not be allowed to do that.
Oh. How do we oppose this ordinance then?
First off, this ordinance is not on the table before the supervisors. The planning commission just reviewed it. So if the board of supervisors is going to consider the ordinance, they will advertise a public hearing, and then that's your opportunity to come in and make comments.
Okay, Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, so moving forward, Planning Commission had some discussion on this, and we are recommending adoption. So, and that's all we have.
Okay. Gentlemen, have any questions, please?
No, I'll make a motion, we accept Chris's report as presented.
I'll second that motion. Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, ayes have it. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is Park and Rec. Dave?
All right.
Dave?
How's everybody doing today?
Good.
Park and Rec, what's better? Nothing better. All right. Couple things. Little Free Library continues its popularity. There's lots of comments, lots of positive feedback about the park and Little Free Library. It's been a great success so far, so it's a welcome addition to the park. Huge success. Movie in the park. Secret Life of Pets was successful. It was a beautiful night, a little chilly. So if you were out, you got to enjoy it. It was a nice night. There was about 50 people-ish, somewhere right around there. Had some popcorn and some water and enjoyed enjoyed the movie. It was a good movie, good kids movie. Veterans Memorial Plaque update. Maggie and I are going to actually be meeting with Fred and Charlie and Alan on next week to discuss some final details about getting it put in place and finalize all the details so we can have a dedication ceremony for all the veterans for the final plaque dedication ceremony. So we're looking forward to that. That would be cool. Tot Lot. We have two playground pieces that we have actually approved to be installed somewhere in the neighborhood of October-ish, somewhere whenever weather permits, as it permits. We have the approval, so I appreciate that. And the Board of Supervisors, one's going to be the sidewalk and one's going to be the twister. So if you have grandkids, kids, and they're little and they want to come out and enjoy the park, two more items, and that should fill the Tot Lot. So that's kind of an exciting point. So we're doing a lot of good things in the park. Septemberfest. Before I start Septemberfest, don't forget there's a ton of silent auction items that Suzanne reminds me again to make sure that we get involved with the silent auction, because that is all our sponsors that we actually have from the township. There was 30 some items that were donated by local businesses, and I don't personally, but it's mostly businesses, I guess, local businesses. So we appreciate all that they're doing for us as far as sponsorships and donating the prizes that we have. So don't forget the silent auction when you come to Septemberfest. 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 It's the 25th annual. It's kind of cool. Big deal. September 29th, Sunday, noon to 5. It's going to be right over there in the park. You get to see the park. You get to see all kinds of cool stuff. Face painting, if you want to get your face painted. Do a character artist. Get a funny face made of yourself. Pumpkin painting. Pony rides. Bring your kids, bring your family. It's going to be a fun event. 25 years, we're going to have special dedication to some special people that are going to be there. I heard rumors that Ferris is going to be there. If anybody knows the Iron Pigs, Ferris is kind of a big deal. So he comes out, he's going to be there. We have a lot of things basically for the community. So what we've been able to do for the last 25 years is put on an event for the community. So we appreciate the volunteers that come out every year, every time for the last 25 years. One thing I just wanted to request is that I know it's happened in a couple of different areas before. We'd like to have maybe no political solicitation at the event. I don't think it's appropriate. It's a community day for our community, so I'd like to request if we can have something written up or that we can have no political solicitation. It's a day for people to go enjoy the day. It's not about getting somebody in your face asking you questions. So.
No, I don't think but you can say that, well, we can talk, I'll talk to the board about it and then Greg will get back to you.
That was just something we brought up at the.
I understand, it's a very worthy thing, but there's constitutional issues, especially with regard to political free speech, so.
Okay, all right. We just didn't want anybody in post. We want it to be a community day and we want it to be a community event, so we want everybody to have fun without having everybody in their face. Anything else?
Any questions, gentlemen?
No.
Make a motion to approve.
Cool.
Park and
And
Rec.
a motion, I'll second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Ayes have it. Thank you, Dave.
Yep.
Commission reports. Police report. Chief is here this morning.
Nope. Yeah, he's not here
Hey. Got the big ears today. Good evening.
Yeah, unfortunately, the chief has a meeting here to go to tonight, so he asked me to fill in. I'm Donald Bartholomew, one of your police officers here in town. Excuse me. The Penrith Regional Police Department responded to a total of 504 calls for service between both East Rockhill and West Rockhill Townships. East Rockhill had a total of 226, and West Rockhill Township had a total of 278. The department handled a total of 31 traffic crashes, 8 of which were in East Rockhill Township, and 23 of which were right here in West Rockhill Townships. 22 of those crashes were reportable, which means that there is an injury or car was towed from the scene, they're sent to PennDOT. 9 of which were non-reportable, which means there wasn't a car towed, a death or an injury, and they just stay internally. The Penrith Regional police officers responded to 5 Part 1 index crimes, 35 Part 2 crimes in the month of August, totaling 40. Part 1 crimes are known as the index crimes or more violent crimes. They include homicide, sexual assault, robbery, aggravated assault, burglary, theft, and arson. In East Rockhill Township, there is a theft, a worthless check, a fraud, a possession of methamphetamine, DUI arrest, a disorderly conduct, a harassment, a total of 6 township ordinance violations, and 1 dog law violation. In West Rockhill, there was 1 sexual assault, there was a burglary of a local business establishment, there were 2 theft cases, 2 fraud cases, there was also 2 criminal mischief, which is like a vandalism type crime. There were 3 DUI arrests, 1 disorderly conduct arrest, 4 harassment, public drunkenness, there were 3 ordinance violations, there were 5 dog law violations, there were 2. And criminal charges filed for last month, again in August, was a violation of a PFA, that's a protection from abuse order, 1. Hit and run, which is leaving the scene of an accident, 1 arrest. There was a driving under the influence arrest, public intoxication, there were 2 arrests. A retail theft from a local business was 1. Disorderly conduct, there were 3. And the possession of a methamphetamine was 1. And it also looks like all of our officers conducted a total of 193 traffic enforcement details. 38 details were specifically on Old Bethlehem Pike, which is one of the main roads where we get a lot of our complaints from. A total of 11 verbal warnings were issued, 33 state citations were issued, and 47 internal warning cards were issued. All the officers conducted a total of 269 business checks. And Officer D. Giovanni, who is our motor carrier enforcement officer, he issued 17 inspections, 25 violations. He also put 9 vehicles out of service, and 1 driver physically was placed out of service for driving his commercial motor vehicle. Any questions at all with the report? Yeah.
Paul Reisner, Lawn Avenue.
Hi, Paul.
On your traffic tickets.
Yeah.
Is it street specific, like Lawn Avenue? Can I find out how many you've written on
Oh,
that?
absolutely, it's public record.
Okay,
Yeah,
so I can
you just
walk
come to the
in.
office Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. Lisa would give you a right to know request.
Okay.
And just state that, you'd like to know how many citations were issued on Lawn Avenue from
Right.
point A to B. She can figure that out for you.
Great, thank
Sure,
you.
yeah. Yeah.
Hi, Shirley Miller, Tower Road.
Hi, Shirley.
Hi. The little speed thing that was on the speed limit sign on
The flashing,
Valley
the
Road.
flashing speed board? Yeah.
Does that belong to the,
Yeah, that's ours,
Department?
yeah.
if I wanted to talk about trying to make a left out of the bottom of Tower Road, where it's supposed to be 25,
Right.
some of them are probably doing 50.
Mhm.
Yeah, and there's a 25-mile speed limit, little speed limit sign on the curve, which there's no hidden intersection or even an intersection sign.
Mhm.
Would I come to the police department meeting to discuss that, or call the police
Is that a
department?
state road commission?
Yeah, it is state.
So she'd have to go to PennDOT then, or? Okay.
So, who would I discuss it with on how to move forward.
I can write a letter to PennDOT. I'll write a letter to PennDOT on your behalf.
Okay, do you want me to give you a call one of these days?
Sure, give me a call at the
Okay.
office and we can talk and then I'll send a letter to PennDOT.
Okay, yeah, 'cause it might have been last week, the roads were wet. I wait till there's no one in sight. I pulled out and then I heard squealing. And I was like, oh man, tires squealing. I thought I was done for. And they actually like pulled in the other lane. So nothing happened, thank goodness.
You can also give our office a call tomorrow, ask for voicemail for Officer Dean, D-E-A-N,
Okay,
and you just leave him a message and ask if he could put that flashing cautionary speed board back. I'd be happy to do it
on
for
the
you.
25
Yeah.
little,
Yeah, we
okay.
move it between both townships, so.
Officer Dean.
Dean, yeah.
All right,
Sure.
thank you.
Shirley, may I ask you a question?
Mhm.
The
I was like,
yeah,
where's it going?
the sign, because I don't think speed limit on Ridge Valley Road is 25 miles an
Yes,
hour.
right there it is.
It is.
Yes, it
It's
is.
the suggestion.
There's a little, yeah.
Right,
Is it a
that-
yellow
That's what I
sign?
wanted to clarify to you. If it's in yellow and it's just suggested, that doesn't mean they have to do 25 miles an hour. That's a suggestion. Am I correct? in
Yeah,
That's
saying?
right.
advisory.
Yeah.
That's advisory only.
Oh, I thought I remembered something about
Because
whether
we
it
went
was
through
this
this
shape
before one
versus
time.
this shape. That has nothing to do with it?
No.
The actual,
The white posted signs are the actual speed limit on that road. And I
Okay,
don't recall what it is right there, but the yellow sign, I just wanted to clarify this for you.
right,
The yellow sign is suggested speed through curves, and
okay.
that is not enforceable by our police.
yeah, correct, yeah. They just
Oh.
advise you there's a hazard coming up and slow it down. The
Uh-huh.
actual speed limit sign that we can only enforce, it has to be a white sign with the black letters. Just the
Okay,
yellow and black ones is a cautionary, just, hey, slow down, there's a hazard coming up.
okay. I'll call Greg, maybe a
You can
hidden
still send a letter.
intersection sign
Yes.
or, okay, thank you.
You got it.
Sure.
Yes, ma'am. Name?
Hi, I'm Mary Gersick, and I'm on Tower Road as well. And I'm actually with Shirley on this one, and that's one of the reasons why I came here today, is the dangerous road that I can honestly say that should not be. It's a small little road, Ridge Valley, and so is Tower Road. However, I've had many situations where I am pulling out, and anybody else here on Tower Road, if you would like to agree with me too, if you've seen the same thing, that we are putting our lives in our hands when we are down. We look one way, we look the other way, we look again, and we are ready to go out, and we're not even doing 10, 15, and a car comes flying around, and it's not just that they're doing 30, 35. Some of them are going 45 and even over 50 miles per hour. And they're slamming the horn on, and, you know, you get in front of them because you're like, oh my gosh, you gotta speed up. And then what they do is they ride on your bumper, and they curse at you and beep at you. And as you were just saying, you said that that yellow sign means that it's just a suggested.
Yeah.
However, we should really talk about changing that. It is dangerous.
And that can be done, but we have to do that through PennDOT. Yes.
I have called last year around this time, and I had asked if this officer could come and sit there for a while. It's hard to do right there, but try to sit there and just watch how the cars come flying by. And I am really concerned that one of our neighbors are going to get very hurt coming out of our street that should not be. And a yellow to me saying 25, I'm sorry, but I don't see how that could be suggested. You can honestly see that you cannot go.
I'm not disagreeing with you
Yeah.
there. I'm just explaining the law to you that was explained to us.
Right. So,
So,
and I was told it was a DOT road, but I would like to, and I hope people would support me, that we maybe push this a little bit further and try to get it, you know, changed so we can be safe.
Yep.
So,
Let Greg work and get it started.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Someone,
Yeah, Carolyn Huffnagel, Tower Road. I just want to agree with the other ladies that spoke. It is an awful, awful way to make a left. You really have to watch who's coming from your left, get halfway out, and then you can make your left, unless it's the middle of winter and the trees are, you know, the leaves are off the trees, then you can see around that curve. But when it's in full bloom and, you know, all those hedges are there, you really, and they do go 45 and 50, and they didn't do this years ago, but now they do. They ride your bumper, and they honk at you, and then when they honk, you you go like this, and then you're afraid you're gonna go in the ditch. So I totally support, you know, if a pile of us could get together and send a letter, because it's just, it's not gonna get better.
How could the bushes be cut back for like, you could, like, seeing or something like that, more visibility? Is there a way that can be done, or?
We have to get a hold of PennDOT.
We'll get a hold of PennDOT.
Okay.
Rich- Rich
Thank
is
you.
cool.
So will
Yeah,
this be followed up at the next meeting then, or
Well, it depends.
what would the next steps?
Well, the next steps would be, is to contact me, we'll sit down and we'll write a letter to PennDOT, and then we'll wait for PennDOT's response. When PennDOT gives a response, I'd be happy to share it with you and share it with the board. But if PennDOT doesn't respond,
Yeah, but I will also bring this up at our next police commission meeting, and I will talk to Chief Blake about possibly setting up some sittings there of our officers. Okay?
especially maybe on South Tower Road, on
Yes.
South Tower, across the street.
Yeah, it's safe to pull out there. And with the speed board, that actually gives you a speed of the vehicles that are there, and it keeps a record of it, so you actually have an accurate reading of how many cars pass by and what their actual speed is.
You have that?
Yeah, so that little board does, yeah. You can actually download all the data to it, yeah.
Don, I
Yeah.
have one thing too.
Sure.
We had a call from a resident who lives right near the corner of Ridge Valley and Allentown Road.
Okay,
People coming up Allentown Road, coming north and making that right very
Yeah.
quickly.
mm-hmm,
He's concerned about accidents going on there because he lives right in that corner,
Uh-huh.
not in the corner, but a house down. When he's pulling out his driveway, people are just almost hitting him every day. So,
Mhm.
could we get an accident report for the last 5 years for that intersection?
yeah, that would be something Chief Blake would handle, that's something that's on my grade, so.
Yeah.
Just shoot him an email tomorrow, I'm sure he'll be glad to get it for you. Yeah,
Good, thanks.
sure.
We want to start with that before we go to PennDOT to see if there's any
Yeah.
traffic studies they can.
Right.
Yeah, no problem. I'll just give him an email tonight, letting him know that you'll contact him shortly about
Okay.
that then. So Ridge Valley to Allentown,
Ridge Valley.
northbound, making the right.
Yes.
Yeah, no problem. Sure.
So you guys have any more questions?
I have none.
If not, so.
I'll make a motion that we accept the police report as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, move to second, all in
everybody.
favor? Thank you very much.
See everybody.
Good job.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is the Joint Rec Authority, Mr. Miller.
Yeah, we had a good year at the pool. We had a lot of good comments from people. A lot of you came out for some of our events, and we really appreciate that. A lot of good volunteers this year. We had one resignation from our board. Wendy Bradley, who was on the board for a couple of years now, her daughter's just tied up in all kinds of sports, so she just doesn't have time to be on the board. So we do have an opening, if anybody was thinking about doing something as a volunteer. We have an opening on our board for a West Rockhill resident. The board consists of 3 residents from Sellersville and 3 residents from West Rockhill. So if you're interested, give us a call. You can contact me, or you can contact Greg, and Greg can get in touch with me. We also, like I said, we had the 2 beer nights, the craft beer nights this year. They were very successful. People really loved them. We're going to try and expand that next year. Just have two craft beer nights, but maybe add some wine, because people, the main complaint people had was that we don't drink beer. So people were swimming at both events, even in late August where it was chilly outside. The water was actually warmer than the air, so there were people in the pool. Frank, last month you asked me if we were making money. At last month's meeting we were, at this month's meeting we are not, because of the bills that came in late in the year. So I will be asking for the township to help us out with an additional $2,000. I will look at come to the board next month. I won't give them a month to think about it. Sellersville has already put in an additional $2,000 to help pay the bills. Okay. The main thing was that caused it was at the beginning of the year, as you know, we reincorporated for another 50 years. And some of the legal bills rolled over into 2019. And those legal bills actually took us over the limit, so that's what caused the overage. And and it was so wet this year that the mowing guy had to come in about 4 or 5 more times at $1,000 a piece, more than we expected. So I've already canceled mowing for the rest of the year, so if you go by the pool, it looks like a hayfield. You don't want to. I'm going to try and get some volunteers to join me one day and go in near the end of the late fall and just mow what's there, just to get it down for the winter. Other than that, we've been working on just getting ready for next year. We had our meeting last week before, Suzanne, and just started putting together a lot of thoughts for next year, things we want to do new, things we want to repair, maybe some new stuff for the kids. So that's it, and that's all I have today.
Okay, any
Okay.
questions, Ed?
No, I'll make a motion to accept Jim's report.
We do need a motion to advertise for the vacancy.
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay.
So I can advertise.
So moved.
All right, I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Proceed. Now we'll move in second for approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Thank you, Jim. Tax collector report. Suzanne Clark, any?
Okay, for the month of September, I've only collected $322.20 in annual taxes. That's it for the month for the township. So I have nothing else to report but that. Sorry.
Wow.
Final note, well, actually, the final notice has already went out, never mind, so. Hopefully we can make it up in the next 2 months.
We hope so.
I hope so. I don't have that much more to collect, actually, so. That's all I have.
Okay, I'll make a motion, we accept Suzanne's report as presented.
I'll second.
Move to second, all in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Engineer report, Mr. Baloo.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do not have anything to report tonight unless there's any questions.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to accept.
this is on report.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Solicitor's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have two things under the solicitor's report this evening. If you don't mind, can we move the second thing up to the first, since it's
Okay.
the quicker item? At the last meeting, you reviewed the land development application for Magnetic Specialties. And since that time, we prepared an approval resolution with all the conditions. Steve and Greg calculated the required fees in lieu of certain improvements that you agreed to waive. And the resolutions are before you, Mark 2019-18. If you're okay with the resolutions that were in your packet, a simple vote to adopt resolution 2019-18 would be appropriate.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, move to second, all in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Right. And the second item on the solicitor's report tonight is the advertisement of an ordinance that would prohibit parking on Tower Road. You asked me to draft this ordinance amendment as a result of complaints that we've had in the Tower Road neighborhood from people abusing the unlimited parking and the concerns about getting emergency vehicles on that road at certain times. So the ordinance has been advertised for a public hearing, and if you would like to open that public hearing, then the board and super members and the public can have their say.
Okay, we'll open that hearing, and I would suggest if you have something to say, please come to the podium and state your name and address and address the group, and you have a couple minutes to explain your position. So the floor is open to anyone who wishes to comment. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Huffnagel. I live at 331 Tower Road, which is all the way up the top and down the back. And I don't particularly have any problems with parking on Tower Road, but I totally and wholeheartedly support not parking on Tower Road. I've been up there 44 years. I've seen it change a lot, to go from basically a 1.5 lane to trying to make it a 2-lane road. And I've seen cars parked there, I've seen delivery, gas parked there, and I often think if a fire engine has to come up that road, I want them to get to my house. So I totally am in favor of the ordinance. I know for some people, it might be difficult when they have graduation parties, but they'll have to make other arrangements. Other thing I would just like to bring up would be like maybe a speed limit sign on Tower Road. Because I just had a chap the other day in this old beigey white pickup truck with red on it come so fast up there that I almost had to jam on my brakes and go off to the side, because then right up the middle, they zoom. I've stopped for my mail, they honk. Didn't used to be that way. But maybe a speed limit sign would be, there is none right now. So I totally support no parking. I think it's an awesome idea, and maybe some speed limit signs. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll take the traffic issue under discussion. Anyone else like to comment?
I will. I'm Shirley Miller. I'm on 521 Tower Road. And at this point, I am against the no parking on Tower Road. When I got the letter, I was like scratching my head, like, what? So I read the agenda from last month, the other night, and it sounds to me like this mostly has to do with the short-term rental, as we referred to. So I pulled that up. Wasn't able to print it right, so I kind of copied and pasted. And there's a lot of discrepancies in their listing. It says you can be kicked out if you don't follow the... It's all in here, I really don't want to read it all. I actually made you guys a copy if you want it. It's not supposed to be for large groups. It's listed as maybe up to 20. But there's discrepancies on their listing. And if you read the reviews, let me see if I can find it real quick.
You're speaking of the parking, or?
This is, it's my understanding that the no parking issue came about because of the Airbnb.
That's not the only reason. Safety and
For-
travel on Tower Road is the other reason. Just like that lady just explained, if you have a car or a truck parked on the side and emergency vehicles have to get to the top. Tower Road was never constructed that wide.
Right.
So there is an issue as far as cars being able to pass through safely.
Right.
Stay on your side of the road. And it has been brought up, and we've discussed this for several years, I would say. About the safety issue on Tower Road.
Fire trucks and...
Yes.
Okay.
And that is our primary concern, is to make sure that we can get fire trucks and emergency responders to your home if there's a problem.
Okay. Okay. Because I thought, as I said, I thought this all came about as a result of the rental issue. And it sounds like that's going to be addressed, hopefully, in another avenue, different avenue. Okay. Because then I gotta say, I'm not real fond of all the technology these days. You know, you can't sell your home, so you make it an Airbnb, and then you affect other people in a residential neighborhood. To me, that's just
Well, we appreciate your
not
input
okay.
and hope
So-
you have a better understanding of what the thrust of this is.
Yeah, okay, yeah,
Okay,
I'm kind of up there where it's narrow, so, all right, thank you.
thank you. Anyone else to make any comments?
I'm going to, just because I get, hi, Chris Erickson, 638 Tower Road.
Sure, did you
Repeat
get
that.
that?
What was that?
638 Tower Road, Chris Erickson. You don't know me?
She's not that, she's fast, but not that fast.
Okay. I'll slow down. So it's about the parking. I have to say, I'm almost at the very end, and I've never been impeded by people's graduation parties in the parking. Most people are very aware, and they're very nice about pulling over and stuff. As far as emergency vehicles and everything,
I don't know. I'm not aware that it's happened before, that it's been impeded because of that particular day. Yes, it could be an option. I mean, it could be something that happens, but I just not aware that it has happened. I just feel like if people are conscientious about they have a party and they move over to the side, there's just seems to be room. I've never been impeded. That's just my personal opinion. But I'm also not in that thick where all these things are happening. But I want to give my opinion that I don't like the no parking because I feel like some people are going to be really kind of landlocked. I don't know what you do with that. So don't have the room for parking. So I don't want to not take somebody else's situation into consideration, but I just feel like everybody's sort of moved over, and if they're not moved over, then they should be taken care of. I don't know. So, okay.
Thank you for your input. Okay, anyone else wish to speak on the subject? Seeing none, I will draw the hearing to a close and we'll move forward, right?
If you're inclined to adopt the ordinance, the appropriate motion would be to adopt ordinance, it would be ordinance 240.
Okay, you gentlemen have any questions, thoughts, concerns?
I have none. I have none. I'll make a motion we adopt ordinance 240.
Okay, it's been moved. I'll
Excuse
second.
me, I'm confused. I thought it said something about October.
Not for this.
What is that?
This is the parking, no parking on Tower Road. October is the Airbnb.
The short-term rental ordinance.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. It's been proposed by Jay. I've seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Thank you all.
And that is the end of my solicitor's report.
Okay. Township manager.
I'll make a
report.
motion that we accept mayor's report as
Thank you.
presented.
Yes.
I will second it.
Moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Yeah,
Township manager report. Mr. Lippincott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first item is the West Rockhill Treasurer's Report, ending August 31st. The general fund, $756,173.70. Highway 8, $143,653.81. Open space, $1,033,231.06. The park fund, $12,189.37. The equipment fund, $18,255.88. Highway capital, $128,11. Street light, $35,302.75. The reserve funds, general fund reserve, $345,227.85. Open space, Manderfield, $50,599. Sewage maintenance, $172,412.72. Stormwater fund, $6,489.07. And the escrow fund, $304,226.76. We also have a copy of all.
Okay, does anyone have any questions regarding treasurer's report as filed? And
No questions, and I will make a motion to approve based on audit.
Okay, I'll second it.
okay, so moved second. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Second item in your packets is a quote to redo the glass out front for the administration, the entranceway, and the glass, it's still the original glass. The quote is for $10,000 to redo the glass in the doorways.
Will that make the doorways handicap accessible?
Yes, it will.
Security?
We will have locks on them, yes, it'll be the same as before, but it's the new insulated type. It would give better insulation to the front.
And it won't be difficult to lock open
No,
when we have meetings?
I already met with the locksmith,
Okay.
so, because that's different, that's
Well,
Heizer.
that being said, I'd like to make a motion that we move forward with this
as part of the project.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
No. I voted against.
Oh, okay.
The next item was the Joint Recreation Committee, which was taken care of earlier. The next item is in your packets, is the 2020 MMO. All that has to do is be reported in the minutes. That's the minimum municipal obligation for the pension fund. I do have one other item that is not on your agenda, and if I misspeak, Steve will correct me. Either Friday, the parking lot's being done.
As of today, the schedule is for Friday to do the parking lot and Monday to do the Farmers Lane. And that would be the last of our contract paid.
So it may be difficult to get into the administration building on Friday, so, just so you are aware. Parking lot's going to be done.
Okay.
Just the staff at the day off.
Now, we'll be in the office, you can call or email, but you may not be able to.
So say that again, Thursday, they're doing
Nothing.
nothing.
No, it was Thursday and then it got pushed back to
Because I thought it
Friday.
was Thursday, so now
That
it's
was-
Been
Friday.
pushed back to Friday.
And Farmers Lane is
Monday.
Monday, okay.
Farmers Lane will not be closed. There'll be traffic control, there might be a delay, but it won't be closed.
And that is my report.
Make a motion to accept the manager's report.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Old business. You gentlemen have any old business?
I have none.
No, I have none.
Okay, I have some, I have a statement I'm going to read to the general public, and I will then present this statement to the secretary to include in the minutes of tonight's meeting. I wish to clarify a situation that was publicly brought to my attention many months ago. A group of individuals in this township, including a fellow sitting supervisor and a current candidate for supervisor, attacked me and weaponized my personal health insurance information for their own political gain. My view and that of others from the existing medical condition has precluded me from changing to any kind of different medical plan. I am happy to report that in the past several months, my condition has improved tremendously, and I can now transition to other, hopefully cost-effective options. Being a financial conservative, as my records show, I have always looked out for the best interests of West Rockhill. This personal circumstance is no exception. Our township has flourished, and I believe that my leadership has contributed to that. Serving the residents of this beautiful township is important to me, has been an honor. With the future support of the citizens of this township, I hope to continue to do so. Thank you very much.
I think that letter's out of order.
I think that letter's out of order also. I think that was a political statement being made at a public meeting.
Campaign statement.
There was no attack. There was simply an issue of financials that was brought up about health insurance and the cost of health insurance. There was no political motivation behind that, and I'm appalled.
I understand that, maybe you. I don't discuss health care in public.
I think it should be stricken from the records.
There is no record.
It's not going to be in the minutes.
Oh, I don't know.
He's submitting it. He said he's gonna submit it.
It will be submitted for the record.
Frank Simmondar at 1030 Allentown will be stricken from the minutes. It was a political speech.
Greg and I will look into that and advise the board accordingly.
Does anyone have any new business?
Can I make a remark? This topic
Liz,
oh, I'm sorry, Sue Furlong, West Rockhill, West Rockhill, 232 Martin Road. This topic was discussed 2 or 3 times in this meeting about healthcare costs, and it was specific to individuals. And so if that wasn't political, I don't know why this is political. It was a clarification. It was an answer to those times that Mr. Miller brought it up and you brought it up. And so for him to respond to you, I think is perfectly
It wasn't
legitimate.
political.
This
It
wasn't
was how the
political either.
township was spending
He
money
didn't
that
ask for
they
your
didn't have
vote.
to.
He didn't
I
ask
don't
for your
think,
vote.
I think the rule is no crosstalk.
Yeah.
I think comments are addressed to the board, and the board
Okay.
responds to
Well, he's
comments. So
interrupting
that,
me.
because we don't want residents arguing with each other. That's not appropriate. So it, you know, we'll go
Well,
into just
I'm
a
pointing
second.
out-
Well, please, we'll go into public comment in a minute or two, and then people have the option of making comments to the board.
Okay. Either gentlemen have any new business?
I have none.
I have none.
Okay, floor is open for public comment. We're moving 2 minutes. Yes, ma'am?
Oh, well, I was trying to get into new business, but I'll do public comment. Carolyn
Can you go up
Huffnagel. Again. Carolyn Huffnagel, Tower Road, and I just want to know where we might go to do something about the light coming from like Grandview Hospital on Lawn Avenue. At that light where you cross the Ridge Road, the left lane is straight to Lawn Avenue and left on Ridge, and the right lane is right turn only. Well, especially around 4 o'clock, that backs up all the way to getting off the 309. But what's happening now, people are in the lane to turn left, and there's nobody at all on the right, so they're getting out of the lane and going around that whole line. And then it's finally your turn, and you can go straight, and here somebody is whipping around you. And I know this whole village is coming, so I'm just wondering what procedure should myself or anybody else that has the same problem trying to go straight on Lawn Avenue. And you're there sometimes 3 or 4 lights before you get to go, except for the people that got out and went around you. And where could we go? Because possibly that right lane could be straight and right, and the left lane could be just left. I know something has to be projected for the future, but I think that's also a difficult area, and I just would like some guidance and direction. Do I go to PennDOT?
It's ultimately the township's responsibility. We would have to get a new PennDOT permit. We can check the timing, and we can ask the police to check to make sure people aren't going around other people. But we can check with timing issues.
Yeah, because,
Yeah, and also, just in the bigger picture, if you're familiar with the new industrial buildings that are being constructed in Percy Borough.
on the Ridge
Almost-
Road,
on
out,
Ridge Road, almost
big
out
white
at
and
the-
blue one?
At the airport, yes. Due to increased traffic from that facility and the future buildings that they propose, that project is also studying the Lawn Avenue Ridge Road intersection for some future improvements. I can't guarantee you when they'll be constructed, but it's in the process of being studied for some improvements there with that project driving the project. So over the years, we have looked into it and have worked with PennDOT, and we'll continue to monitor that.
Awesome, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, can I just stay here? Still Shirley Miller. I just want to clarify something on 521 Tower Road. I just wanted to be sure I wasn't hallucinating. Just the cover letter regarding the parking on Tower Road. It says the matter will be discussed and public comment taken tonight, September 18. And in the minutes from August, it said, for consideration and possible adoption at the October 16 meeting. So I guess it's a moot point now, but I just wanted to be sure.
Yeah, I don't know what the
Have a-
minutes say. The ordinance was advertised for consideration, for public hearing and consideration this evening.
Right, discussed and public comment taken. It doesn't say it was going to be voted on tonight. That said October.
It said that in the newspaper.
Well,
And we sent out letters to all
I
the
didn't verify it
residents
with the newspaper. Thank you.
inviting everyone to come tonight. Letters went to everyone in town.
Michael?
Michael Schromeyer, I live on Sterners Road. I just want to say, we've been sitting here listening to a lot of things where we don't have money in the budget. The supervisors told the Park and Rec they had to borrow $7,000 in order to do something at the park. And it's their money, it's not just the supervisor's money. We've heard that the,
That's not true. I never said this,
It was reversed.
I never said that.
take his time out of my
Park and
2.5
Rec
minutes, please.
was gonna, I never said that the supervisors were gonna make the Park and Rec borrow money. Never. I'm the liaison to the Park and Rec.
We can go back to the minutes. The next month it was changed that they would give them the money. The other thing I've heard is at these meetings that we don't have money to give to the senior center, we don't have money to give to the pool, and these are things for you, the residents. And along that way, it came out through a right to know that the supervisors were taking personal health insurance at a very high rate. I mean, $45,000 a year for one supervisor. I can't imagine anybody here paying $45,000 a year for their insurance. In that, I think it's purely financial. But tonight's statement by you, Don, was just purely political, and I demand that be struck from the record. Thank you.
Ms. Schreimeyer?
Regina Schreimeyer, Sterners Road. I brought that up at a meeting, I'm loud enough. I brought that up at a meeting because I was shocked and disgusted to find out that that kind of money was being spent on supervisor health insurance, and it wasn't even a line item in the budget. It was under employee health insurance. There was no way for anybody to find that out except that it happened to be in a right to know that I requested. It was in there by mistake. That is how I found it. It wasn't a political motivation. I did not do a right to know asking for your health insurance. It was in the folder. It was not political. It was concern about all the money that's being spent on that health insurance.
Any other comments?
I'd like to make one. Oh, go ahead. I'll go next.
Frank Schimmon there at 1030 Allentown Road. I heard right that we're spending $10,000 on new glass on the front doors, and we couldn't get $1,000 to put security cameras in there and in this building?
Who said that?
You know, man.
Anybody else have public comment?
Who said that?
I do. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, Mary Gerson, Oliver again. I'm sorry, I apologize. This village expansion concept, I'm sorry, can you just tell me, where is this going to take place and what is it?
I mean, you're looking right at me, and I'm
Yeah.
thinking, the village expansion?
Yeah, right
You have a
behind
sign.
you. Yeah, right behind you.
So
Yeah,
it's
I'm
right
sorry,
behind.
excuse me, I wasn't
Yeah.
looking, yeah, but right behind you.
That's a plan that's been in the works for many years, and it keeps evolving, but we don't have any direct action to move forward with it at this point. It's just something that's on the books that when the zoning was redone, that was listed as an area for a village,
What
with
area, though? I'm
business,
sorry.
Ridge and Lawn Avenue, in that area.
Ridge and Lawn.
Yeah. Along with the hospital and all the other businesses that are up there. So that's just something that's evolving, but there is no plan to expand or to move forward with it.
Thank you for the clarification.
Sue, you have a comment?
Sue Furlong, West Rockhill Township. I recall the right to know request by Mrs. Schreimeyer. And as I recall, she requested every right to know request that had been submitted by Megan Banis Clemens.
Incorrect, incorrect.
By the Clemens family then. And
No,
it had,
incorrect,
that was my recollection.
incorrect.
Did you request, I do not recall you requesting any health care information at all. Yet somehow a personal item such as an individual's health care, was inadvertently submitted to you. And at that point, for you to bring up anything like that was totally inappropriate. You were violating an individual's HIPAA. You spoke freely about somebody's health care without regard to their personal privacy. And so any outrage that him clarifying an update as to where he is now after the abuse I have seen coming from this direction to that direction, I find it appalling, I find it inappropriate, and I find it to be as political as anything else that has happened here. The man has the right, after all of the abuse that you've heaped on him about a personal situation, to bring you up to date and what he is now doing. And am I at my 2 minutes? Okay.
Okay, I have a comment I want to make. This was not about a single person's health care. This was about several supervisors and their spouses who were taking a lot of money when there were other plans available. It was about the cost of the health care. The care itself was never discussed in any meeting, what anyone's care was that was needed, what anyone was getting for care. It was strictly about the cost of health care. And that's how this was framed, and you can go back and look at every one of the videos and see that it was framed around the cost of health care. And no person's personal health care information was ever discussed. And there were several people, of the six people who are eligible as supervisors and spouses, my wife and I were the only ones that took the cheaper plan. And the others were all eligible for it, but no one else took it, and it was the cost of those health care policies that was discussed.
Mr. Miller, you can't make that statement like
No,
that.
you
You don't know
cannot.
what the health conditions are of
I
the
didn't
other.
answer about health, I never mentioned health conditions.
So therefore, how can you make that statement to the public when you don't know what their conditions are? They can't take the same plan you took because of their health condition. So, and you're shooting off here, making this statement in public. You're wrong, folks. This man is speaking out of turn, and so was that lady back there.
And so are
Your
you.
personal health,
And so
your personal
are you.
health, your personal health condition is not public
I
knowledge. and
never
shouldn't be.
discussed a health condition. Never, ever, ever did those
But
words.
that contributes to the costs.
No, it doesn't.
A lot of people were talking about something they know nothing about.
You brought it up, Don.
You started it, so.
No, you brought this up. You
Yeah.
had.
Did you listen to what I said tonight?
I came
Yeah.
to 2 meetings and asked you to respond or to explain it, and you never opened your mouth. It was crickets.
Like most other people in healthcare business, you don't talk about healthcare public.
Money. We were talking about money.
You've been eligible for Medicare for 20 years.
We're all
You're
paying
entitled to
for
your
it.
opinion.
We've all been paying for it.
And Medicare does not have pre-existing conditions.
The supplemental.
When you understand it, you could have a discussion. Public comments concluded.
More than you know.
You don't have anything else?
No, I have
No,
no.
entertain a motion for
No,
adjournment.
here we got one more comment. One more comment.
Mr. Conlon.
David Cullen, 14 Martin Road. On a later note, the Historical Society is going to have an electronic recycling event on the 19th of October at this building. It's $10 a car, whether you have one item or the trunk in the back of the car is totally full, it doesn't matter. It's anything with a plug, anything with a cord. There are some fees for certain items that the recycling company will have to pass on to you for Freon containing things, maybe certain TVs, but for the most part, if it's toasters, microwaves, as I said, anything with a plug, you can bring it, it's $10 a car, and there's no restrictions on where you live. You can live in Percy, Sellersville, or West Rockhill. It's from 9 to 1, on the 19th of October, which is a Saturday. And I'd like to pass these out with your permission.
Would you tell me what